Need the most aggressive, intelligent criminal attorney possible in Broward and Palm Beach County? Turn to the law firm of Leader & Leader, PA, with nearly 70 years of combined experience accrued by the Leader & Leader law firm, located in Fort Lauderdale. The criminal law firm of Leader & Leader has a remarkable track record. They develop a close working relationship with each of their clients prior to deciding how to proceed with your case. They are always available to their clients. This is very important when you are involved in a criminal case. At Leader & Leader, they offer every type of criminal defense possible, including DUI law, federal drug charges, or even shoplifting offenses. Their team consists of attorneys who used to be prosecuting lawyers, which gives Leader & Leader insight into strategies that the DA's office might use. You have rights. Unfortunately, those rights are not always upheld within the legal system. Let the criminal law firm of Leader & Leader, PA, explore all your options. Call them today at 954-523-2020. That's 954-523-2020. Or go to their website at criminallawleader.com. Do not take chances when it comes to your freedom or the possibility of prison time. Call them today for peace of mind. 954-523-2020.
And we're back from private investigator
to criminal attorney.
I
love it.
I know this is like going to be the best show, hour-long show each month. We have, I think, probably one of the finest criminal lawyers in, I'm going to say, Florida. We have with us...
You're being very bold.
I know. Even though he practices Broward, Palm Beach, and Dade.
And all over the state.
Okay.
Oh, okay, great.
We've got Michael Leader of Leader & Leader Law Firm with us today, and today's going to be about DUI law, because that's probably the biggest question. People never know when it's going to happen. Well,
and especially as a holiday weekend coming up. But welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
If you have a question for Michael, it doesn't have to be just about DUI law. It can be anything that has to do with criminal law. You can call us at 888-565-1470. And if you'd like to watch the show live right now, you can go to Michael's website at www.criminallawleader.com. You can watch the show live, or you can go back later on and watch
the show afterwards.
Show.
Yes. So let's start off by telling everybody a little bit about your law practice.
Okay, perfect. My father's been a lawyer for over 64 years in South Florida, and I've grown up around the practice of law my entire life. I've been doing this. I started with as an intern at the state attorney's office back in 1997, 98. I was with them as an attorney. I left there in 2002, and I've been doing defense work ever since. My practice is predominantly dedicated to the art of defeating or preventing criminal and DUI cases, and there is definitely a distinction between criminal cases and DUI cases. Although DUIs are criminal, which sometimes people don't realize.
So you specialize in that?
Florida Bar doesn't let us use the word specialized,
but okay.
That's our word.
Okay.
But I dedicate a profound amount of my practice to the art of handling DUI cases.
Right. That's important for people to know.
So what all types of cases do you handle besides just DUI?
We handle everything from minor traffic criminal offenses to major federal drug trafficking cases. In fact, I have a case that just resolved that I was working on with another lawyer out of New York, and it involved a lot of the guys at JFK from American Airlines that were taking bags and smuggling drugs. It was a huge conspiracy off of the airlines.
I remember hearing about that.
Well, the arrests were made over the course of about 5 years. Unfortunately, my client was a small player, but was picked up right before the 5-year statute of limitations, and the investigation had been going on for a while, and we ended up getting his case resolved, time served to another matter. He, unfortunately, same client had some mortgage fraud cases down here, which is a hot topic. Unfortunately, he was really kind of victim straw buyer in that case, but because of what he was facing in New York.
It's always the wrong place, the wrong time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's the bottom line. Is people say to me all the time, they say, how do you represent criminals? And the reality is, the majority of my practice are good people. They have drug or alcohol problems. They have mental health problems. They do silly things out of desperation. Sometimes it's younger people that are just immature, do stupid things.
So you handle juvenile cases as well?
Yes, we do. And
Wow.
I would say a large percentage of my client base is probably between 23 and 38.
That's
with
not
drug
considered
and
juvenile,
alcohol.
right? Yeah.
No, right. That's above juvenile. But
Yeah.
I'd say I do have a lot of people in that age range, above and below. But the bottom line is, it's there are a lot of people that get caught up in the system, and you wouldn't expect, and they're good people, and they're not continuous repeat offenders, but they need help just like everybody else. And a lot of
Absolutely.
times they think, oh, well, I've no history. I'm just going to show up to court, and this is just going to be taken care of.
And it's not.
It doesn't work.
Right.
Listen, I have a client right now that has a prescription for the pills that he was found in possession of. He had a public defender. 7 months later, his felony charges are still pending, and we're fighting to get the right prosecutor to look at the right paperwork to dismiss his case. And he thought he could just show up and show him the prescription and it would go away, which you would think it
Wow.
should, but it
Scary.
hasn't.
Wow. So tell us how you approach cases, say, different than other attorneys, because there's a lot of attorneys out there, and it's one of those things that you could really end up with the wrong attorney.
You know, it's interesting you say that. I think that especially in the area of like personal injury and criminal, you have people that are not sophisticated business people necessarily. They're not around and don't know a lot of lawyers. And here all of a sudden they have to go out and hire a lawyer. And I do not envy anybody in that position, because it's almost an impossible task.
Well, I would say even more so in a criminal case.
Absolutely, absolutely. Much more so in a criminal case.
Yes.
And the reason is this. You could have a buddy that say, oh, you know what? I had this lawyer and he got my case dismissed. He's the best. Go use him. And the reality is the guy that they used may have just literally gotten lucky and fallen on something by mistake, got that case dismissed, maybe a terrible lawyer, and this client's telling people, oh, my lawyer's the best.
So how do you know how to choose?
The problem is you really don't. If you have a friend or family member that has a connection to the criminal
Go to the
justice
prisons?
system, well, no, but they have a connection. Maybe they know somebody that's a judge or somebody that works in a courtroom or somebody that's a police officer. I mean, I even get referrals from police officers that I've met on the job defending cases, met them in the process, and I've had officers that I've had cases that I beat their case, and they refer their own family and friends to me. So, I mean, you never know, but the bottom line is they need to interview people. They need to ask questions. A lot of times people shop by price, and I'm not
No,
saying...
that's not smart to do.
No, but you shouldn't also assume that the highest guy is the best guy either.
Of course not.
But it just needs to be one of several factors. And what I tell my people that meet with me, at the end of the day, is you should meet with a couple lawyers, not too many and drive yourself crazy, but you should meet with a couple lawyers that have a focus or an area in what you need. And at the end of the day, the reality is you're going to have to make a gut check. You're going to have to go with your gut on who you think. And the problem is a lot of lawyers are really good at selling people. There are certain tactics that I don't follow. Like when I left the state attorney's office, I said to everybody I know, how do you figure out what to quote a case? Because normally in criminal, they're flat fee cases. Every single person I asked had the same answer, which was appalling to me. How much can you get?
Wow.
Every person, the ones that I respected and the ones that I didn't. It blew my mind. So
how would you do your due diligence then on hiring a criminal attorney?
You know, you got to do research. You got to talk to people you know. You got to look online. You can look at user reviews, things like that. But even those, a lot of times, are fake and fabricated.
User reviews. Where's that?
I now just recently added some to my website. But for years, people have been telling me that they found me online, and I don't advertise, so I was not anywhere specific that I knew of.
He really doesn't. He's actually turned us down before.
Well, thank God I haven't had to look for a criminal attorney.
Yeah.
But just in case, I need to know.
Because you never know.
Right.
So they tell me that they found reviews from other people that I've represented that placed them places. I don't even know where, but I've since found out that other lawyers have people that they pay to place these reviews, and they're not even real.
Exactly.
So sometimes you don't know. I think one of the things that I bring to the table to people is that I have really strong credentials in the sense that I've been involved in my legal community. I'm the board of numerous voluntary bar organizations. I'm the board of director of the Broward County Bar Association. I've been honored in numerous different ways, certain magazines that recognize lawyers. I've been honored by the local bar associations. I've served as president of one that's made up of judges and lawyers in the community. So I think when you see that type of stuff about a lawyer, it gives you a clue that maybe the real deal. I don't have any statistics to back this up. It's an approximation. But I feel that 80 to 85% of the people that do what I do in South Florida are either borderline incompetent or just don't care. So once they get
That's
the money...
a scary thought, though. That really is.
That's my own personal observation
Right.
as a prosecutor and defense lawyer. There are people that care that don't have the skill and experience, or the people that have the skill and experience but don't care anymore and they're burnt out.
Wow.
So you got to find somebody that not only has the skill and experience but isn't giving you a dog and pony show and is going to fight for you and that knows how to fight for you.
Right.
And you need the full recipe or you're going to be in trouble.
Even to be a litigator, to go into court for you. I mean, they have to be a good litigator.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about DUI. Let's talk about if you're ever pulled over. Probably the biggest question is should you take a breathalyzer?
Number one question I'm asked, and there's no absolute answer. And the reason is this.
Do they make you take a, I mean, can they actually force you to do that?
First of all, a breath test should not be requested until they've lawfully arrested for DUI. So you're already under arrest for DUI, number one. And you can decline the breath test, but if you do, it has penalties associated with it, like a license suspension that you may face anyway. But for example, I can't tell people blanket advice because if they've ever previously refused, about 8 years ago, give or take, they passed a law in Florida that if you had a prior refusal and you refuse a second time, that's an independent crime for refusing a second time.
Wow.
So I can't give blanket advice to just refuse because then I'm telling you to potentially break the law if you have a previous refusal. And the bottom line is, if you are out to dinner and you have one measured drink, for example, you have a bottle of Bud Light with a steak dinner, I would say go and blow all day long. You're not going to blow over. You're going to be fine. The problem that people get into is this. We talk about drinks as glasses or cups. And if you are drinking a mixed drink, for example, I had a client come in and say, I don't understand. I only had 2.5 Long Island iced teas in 3 hours.
Those are strong.
And I blew off the charts. Well, he knows the bartender. It's a local bar he goes to. And there's 3 ounces of alcohol in at least each one. And when we talk about a drink, we're talking about 1 measured ounce of vodka or whatever your drink of choice is. So when you have a mixed drink, it may have 3, 4, 5 ounces of liquor in it. You had 1 glass, but you actually had 5 drinks. And people don't realize that. And unless you know what's in your measured drink, unless you know what you've had, I generally will tell people, if you think that you more likely than not you're going to blow over, if you've never refused before, it may be in your best interest to refuse in terms of defending the criminal case. However, there's also a separate, when you get arrested for DUI, you have 2 separate cases. One is criminal with the state, and another one separate with DMV. Now, your license can get suspended in both cases, but the DMV suspension, and this is why you need to hire a lawyer right away, you have 10 days from the date of your arrest. If you don't challenge that administrative suspension within 10 days from your arrest, it's on there. License? It's 6 months on a breath over an 08, and it's a year on a refusal for a first refusal, or 18 months for a second refusal. Now, they have some new programs. They started last year a waiver program where you can waive your right to contest it, and you get a business purpose license for the entire period of your suspension.
Which is
hardship,
what?
Some type of hardship?
Right. You can drive for necessities of living, to work, to school, to medical, things of that nature. So often when clients call me, I tell them, look, it's not necessarily as much a legal decision as a practical one. If you live 30 miles from your job and you have no way to get to work, if you have a 30-day or a 90-day period that you can't drive at all, what are you going to do? Can you exist? Can you survive losing that job? Or do you have kids that you have to get to school and nobody to help? Everybody has their own personal issues, and that's one thing that I do that I don't think a lot of other lawyers do, at least that I've seen. And there
so
are
you file for the hardships.
Well,
but that's on a first offense?
Well, yeah, on a first offense, the waiver, if they're not eligible for the waiver, we'll file it. But I think a lot of lawyers do the hardship hearings. I don't know that all of them know how to do them well, but what a lot of lawyers don't do is individualize their cases to their clients and personalize it to their client's needs, their client's risk level and adversity, what they're willing to expose themselves to, what they're not, and what defenses may apply to them. There are too many lawyers that I see just take kind of a cookie-cutter approach to every case, and I don't think you can practice law that way.
24/7? You're available?
Much to my wife's chagrin, yes.
Well, I would.
It's almost like it's almost like being a doctor, but this is really important also because if you go to prison, you want to be able to call somebody in the middle of the night and get out.
I've had people call me that are being stopped. I had an existing client that we won a case for. It was 3:30 in the morning on a Saturday, and she called me because she was being pulled over and she knew she had some drinks. No, I can't tell them to lie. I can't ever advise somebody to interfere or destroy evidence, and I would never do that. But I can help give her or he or she the best advice as to how to handle the situation. And we've done that for clients many times at all hours of the day and night.
Let's go to break. When we come back, I want to talk about the different types of tests they give you. What should you say if you're arrested or not say? I think that's very important. We'll be right back.
When you need the most aggressive, intelligent criminal attorney possible in Broward and Palm Beach County, Turn to the law firm of Leader & Leader, VA, with nearly 70 years of combined experience accrued by the Leader & Leader law firm, located in Fort Lauderdale. The criminal law firm of Leader & Leader has a remarkable track record. They develop a close working relationship with each of their clients prior to deciding how to proceed with your case. They are always available to their clients. This is very important when you are involved in a criminal case. At Leader & Leader, they offer every type of criminal defense possible, including DUI law, federal drug charges, or even shoplifting offenses. Their team consists of attorneys who used to be prosecuting lawyers, which gives Leader & Leader insight into strategies that the DA's office might use. You have rights. Unfortunately, those rights are not always upheld within the legal system. Let the criminal law firm of Leader & Leader, PA, explore all your options. Call them today at 954-523-2020. That's 954-523-2020. Or go to their website at criminallawleader.com. Do not take chances when it comes to your freedom or the possibility of prison time. Call them today for peace of mind. 954-523-2020.
And we're back. God, this is...
It's a learning experience.
We could go hours doing a show like this. So, the biggest question, I always see these little cards. What do you say if you're arrested for anything?
Nothing? Should you say nothing?
Yeah. The general rule, I will tell clients all the time, less is more. And if you are in a situation, you may not want to say, and this is more in the federal cases, you may not want to say, I'm not cooperating, I'm not saying a word. You may not want to close the door yet. But you may want to say, look, I may be able to cooperate, you know, I'm happy to talk to you, but I need my lawyer present. And the bottom line is you don't want to necessarily close the door, but you don't want to say you can cooperate. You don't want to say you do know anything. You don't want to say anything until you've talked to a lawyer. Now,
so that's what you should say, though. I just need to speak to my attorney first.
Yeah, just say, listen, I want to cooperate in any way I can, but I'm uncomfortable doing anything until I have an opportunity to speak to a lawyer, which I think anybody can understand. The problem is, in DUI at the roadside, you don't have the right to an attorney necessarily.
Right.
But, you know, I tell people, if you're not comfortable and you're not sure, even if they tell you you don't have the right, you can let them know, listen, if you feel you need to talk to an attorney, you say, look, I understand you're doing your job. Be polite and cooperative with them, but tell them you're going to respectfully decline to do anything if that's your decision, and everybody's going to make their own decision. But if your decision is you don't want to do anything, you tell them I'm going to respectfully decline until I can talk to my lawyer. You do what you got to do. I feel if you think you're being wrongfully accused, you say, I feel I'm being wrongfully accused, and until I talk to my lawyer, I'm not going to do anything.
Because they do more than just the breathalyzer.
They do.
Roadside tests.
The process is generally this. An officer will stop you, and they'll notice, and typically they'll say that they notice the odor of alcohol and bloodshot water in your eyes. Sometimes they'll add that they saw slurred speech or a flushed face. Some police officers I deal with are really good guys and really honest, and there are others that I've dealt with as a prosecutor and defense lawyer that no question on my mind fabricate or write the same report in every case.
Yeah, because you can be tired, you know, and just be slurring your words. You can be exhausted. Sometimes that happens to me.
I slur my words all the time. Listen, I don't even drink.
There are studies that people who've been awake 17 hours or longer can start to exhibit the same or similar signs.
That's what I'm saying.
Consistent with alcohol impairment. And we've won cases with that theory and those defenses, absolutely. But there can be a million reasons. People could have medical problems. They could have. I have a client right now that's going through, two clients right now. They're arrested for DUI. Should never have been arrested in either case, in my opinion. And they're both going through treatment for cancer. So are they going to seem tired and fatigued and balance issues?
Yeah, especially chemo.
You know, they're both going through major stressful, traumatic treatments on their body. You know, so those are going to be big factors in that case, for sure. But the bottom line is, once they get you out of the car, they're going to generally ask you for roadside exercises. This becomes,
and it's not Pilates.
No. The funny thing is, these are exercises that are not really to test your performance, but they're supposed to be able to measure your ability to divide your attention between multiple tasks, under the theory that when we drive, we're dividing our attention between the speed and the road signs and the other traffic, people in the car, etc. I personally think that these exercises have some validation studies to them, but there are very few people that really know how and can implement them properly and interpret them properly.
Like walking a straight line. They still do that?
Because
I can't do that. No, I'm just saying I can't do that on a normal basis.
But here's the deal. They tell you that they want you to measure they're talking about your normal faculties, and the jury's going to be told your ability to hear, see, walk, talk, and otherwise act in emergencies, and they have you walk in a line heel touching toe. who in their real life ever walks heel-touching toe?
Nobody. That's what I'm saying.
So it's so unnatural.
You can tell I watch a lot of Cops.
Yeah. Well, listen, I will tell you honestly, I had one of the DUI task force members from the Broward Sheriff's Office administer these exercises to me in the office in the middle of the day when I was a prosecutor, and he laughed at the end. He said I would have taken you to jail.
Oh, that's scary. That is definitely scary.
So,
speaking of scary, let's scare people a little bit. Tell people if they're pulled over for DUI for the first time, what kind of penalties they're looking at, second time. And I know it probably has to do with the judge, too, and the attorney.
Well, it's an interesting question because DUI, and the reason I said DUI is separate from any other area of criminal law, is not only does it have a separate set of scientific evidence and approaches to it that you don't have in any other criminal case, as well as defenses that many great criminal defense lawyers that don't do a lot of DUI I see in court miss major defenses they could have used to win their case, but it has its own penalties. Typically, in major felony cases, and depending on what you score on your point system, you can score mandatory prison or have minimum mandatory sentences on major felonies, drug trafficking, things of that nature.
So wait a second, point system. So what is that, from the breathalyzer?
No.
So explain
Getting a
what point
little
system
off
is.
topic, but basically, on felonies, they have something that they use. They assign points to your offense and your prior offenses, and if you score a certain range, you can
I
score
get it.
mandatory
Okay.
prison. DUIs, unless there's serious bodily injury, you have 3 or 4 of them, depending on the timing of the 3 or 4, or somebody dies, they're typically misdemeanors. When nothing bad happens, they're typically misdemeanors. So,
You go to jail, though, when they're...
absolutely, you can face up to a year in jail per count if there's multiple counts.
For your first DUI?
Theoretically, yes, absolutely.
Wow.
That's scary.
You do face jail time in any DUI case. Now, on a first offense, without anything aggravating, a lot of lawyers, you can go to jail to try to scare the client to come in and hire them right away. The reality is, in most situations, they're probably not going to seek jail time, but it has minimum mandatory penalties that no other misdemeanors have. Most felonies don't have the type of penalties that DUI has in Florida, and it's crazy because it starts with a mandatory adjudication, meaning that you will be convicted, you can never have it sealed or expunged, and you can never have anything else sealed or expunged in Florida once you have a conviction.
So that stays on your record.
Forever. You'll have fines and court costs that can reach thousands of dollars. You'll have to do a DUI school where they normally require counseling sessions. They can make you put a device on your car to blow into to start your car at your expense of a couple $100 to install and over $100 a month to maintain. That you can have that for anywhere from 6 months to 2 years or longer, depending on the situation. There's community service hours, victim impact panels, mothers against drunk driving classes, probation, another license suspension.
This is just from the first offense. That's crazy.
Offense.
I am never driving again, even if I have a sip of wine.
Well, listen, this is a significant way that I do make my living, but my first advice to everybody, I don't care what the situation is. I don't care if you're poor and it's a $100 cab ride. It's always better to take the cab or use a service, make arrangements. The bottom line is, DUIs are not about what happens typically. It's about what could have happened. I'm involved in DUI manslaughter cases right now where my clients are the nicest people in the world. One of them has no criminal history. One has one minor prior in his lifetime. And they both were, 2 people I'm thinking of right now, were involved in accidents with somebody on motorcycles. They both died. In both cases, it probably wasn't their fault. And now they're looking at a minimum mandatory 4 years in prison up to 15. Their lives could be destroyed because somebody died and it wasn't even their fault. But the causation in DUI manslaughters in Florida is all the state has to show is that you were impaired, meaning you were either impaired, you were over an 08, and that you caused or contributed to the cause. So even if you didn't cause the accident, but if you contributed, they could find you guilty of DUI manslaughter, and it's brutal. It just destroys people on both sides, the victims and the people accused, and their families.
Give everybody your phone number.
Absolutely. I can be reached 24/7, as you said, at 954-523-2020, and we're happy to answer questions. We offer free consultations. And
that was my next question. Do you offer free consultations?
We absolutely do. Not at the jail. If somebody wants us to come to the jail, they'll have to make some sort of financial arrangement, minimal.
Well, obviously, if they're in jail, they have a problem, so they have to hire an attorney.
Well, some people just couldn't get a bond or couldn't bond out, but the time process of going to the jail to meet people can take hours. But over the phone and in office, we offer free consultation in our criminal cases, and we're happy to do it. We're happy to spend the time and help people and their families, not just with beating their case if we can, but our goal is to get you the best possible outcome, but to help you and your family through the entire process as well. We'll also file documents that let us appear in court so you don't have to worry about missing work and coming all to the administerial court appearances. So we can make a big difference, not just in how this case weighs on you, but also in the outcome for our clients and our track
Absolutely.
record.
Give everybody your
website
address.
again,
I was
too.
going to say his address as well.
I will say that we unfortunately had some technical errors. They lost a lot of content on our website, so lots being
No,
redone.
can I tell you something? You got a wonderful website. I spent a lot of time on it today. Looked really, really good.
Thank you. A lot of my content that we had rewritten, there was somebody that left the company that I'm working with that managed it for me, and they lost a lot of that. So some of the stuff up was old. We're getting that fixed, but it's Criminal Law Leader, www.criminallawleader.com. That's Leader. And we try to get some useful information, and like I said, we're happy to take your calls and help any way we can.
Okay, tell everybody where you're located as well.
My main office is in downtown Fort Lauderdale, about 3/4 of a block from the courthouse. But as I mentioned earlier, especially in the area of DUI, I'm hired all around the state. We have cases in Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, as well as multiple other counties throughout the state. And sometimes people are worried about hiring a lawyer out of town that isn't local, but I've had great results for our clients out of county without a problem.
Perfect.
This could be a 2-hour show easily,
can.
but we will be back next month with Michael Leader. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Have a wonderful weekend. Do not drink and drive if you haven't learned by listening to our show today.
That's true.
And we also want to thank John Quirk and Michael Leader of Leader & Leader Law Firm. Everybody have a great week. Peace and love.
We're out.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show with Steve-O and Renee. Tune in every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. while some of the top local experts in their field from Broward and Palm Beach counties educate you in the areas of law, health, financial, and home improvement. You can also call our offices at 888-574-6999 to become an expert on our show. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not